Well, hello again, everybody. Welcome to another exciting edition of the C Red Fred Roundtable Postgame show. I don't even know what we call it. I'm so upset right now. I'm so angry about what we just witnessed as the Bulls opened up with another horrific starting opening night. Did I actually hit the Jordan thing there? I'm so angry about what happened. Let's just start talking about it. We got Mark K from Australia. Thanks for joining us, Mark. How you doing tonight, brother?
Well, it's daytime here, mate, but I'm fine. I'm fine. Hope you boys are all good in the US. But I'd say I'm fine, but maybe I'm not. That was as bad as what you could probably have imagined for game one of the season. I know the score's only 20 points at the end there, but it was a 40-point game or 40-point deficit at one point. So yeah, just a complete disaster, really.
Yeah, I'm not good. I'm pissed. I got to be honest with you. Merry Christmas to you, Mark, by the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You too.
Well, I was talking to Mark K, but Mark Lewinthal, how you doing, brother? Good.
Sorry. Doing well. I mean, doing as good as I could do after a game like that. That was a rough one.
All right, let's just start out. Is there anything bright to talk about? Anything that you guys really liked in tonight's game? We'll go with you first, Mark K.
Well, Patrick Williams, I guess he looked pretty comfortable in his first game. His first pro game. So despite the rest of the team looking, well, not the rest of the team, but most of the team looking like a complete disaster, Patrick Williams looked very comfortable, didn't look like a rookie at all. So that is, I guess, the upside of this game. If we're trying to find some silver linings, I thought Otto was decent in certain sections of the game, and Lowry, maybe compared to some of his contemporaries, was half decent as well. So they're probably the only positives I can take away at this point. There's far more negatives than positives, but I guess we have to start with the rookie if we're looking and searching for positives, because he was probably the Bulls' best player, I thought.
Well, he played 33 minutes. He was 5-11 from the field, 1 of 3 from the three-point line, 5 of 6 from the free throw line with 4 rebounds total, 1 assist, 1 steal. Minus 23 for the time that he was out there. I'm not going to give credit to any of the starters. All the starters sucked. They all sucked tonight. Defensively was one of the biggest embarrassments I've ever seen from a Bulls team. So I don't care who it is, if it's Zach LaVine, who was 1 of 8 from 3, or Kobe White, who was 1 of 7 from 3, 2 of 11, or even Patrick Williams, who everybody is going to celebrate every time he ties his shoes right. I was not happy with how the starters came out in this game. They sucked. Defensively, this cannot continue. We gave away our 2 best perimeter defenders. We watched what happened tonight. For us to go out against this team who we're competing with for the last playoff game is inexcusable, and I'm freaking furious. I'm not going to celebrate Patrick Williams. You know, he played good. Yeah, he looks like he belongs out there. He's 19. He should have started Otto Porter Jr. because he can't shoot threes great. It takes him a half an hour to wind up to shoot the 3. Mark Lewinthal, what do you have to
Well, I mean, you summed it up pretty good. Ultimately, if the Bulls want to make the playoffs, the type of team that they're going to have to beat is a team like the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, teams like the Washington Wizards. These are the types of teams. And what I saw tonight was a team that was nowhere close to the Atlanta Hawks. And when you're asking, were there any positives? The only positive for me is that I want the East to be more competitive. And it looks like it might be a little bit more competitive now. The Hawks look like a legit basketball team. Yeah, I don't think that it was just them waxing us because we're far inferior than they are. I think that with the moves and additions that they made, they've got a lot of depth on that team. They have so much shooting, and they were impressive and fun to watch. So I just tried to sit back and enjoy watching Trae Young because I haven't seen a lot of him, and the way that he was playing off of John Collins, the 2 of them are going to be a deadly duo for years to come. So, I mean, at least you know that the East is getting better. But I didn't see any red tonight, Fred. All that I saw was white. I saw a white flag going back and forth. I don't know where this parting of the seas is that you talk about, because the only thing that I'm seeing parted right now is my heart, my friend, is my heart. It's getting stomped on by your
Bulls. You know, we should be happy about Patrick Williams. First of all, I want to thank everybody who's jumped on this and giving comments on Alan, Kofi. I see a bunch of there, Jim White, Daniel. Really appreciate it. But yeah, like there's really nothing to be celebrated. Again, the starters today were just so absolutely disgusting. I want to go again. Patrick Williams, minus 23. Markkanen was a minus 34 when he was on the court. Wendell Carter Jr., minus 13. Zach LaVine, a minus 26. And Kobe White, a minus 13. Our perimeter defense, it's hard to describe how bad it was. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. It was just inexcusable. Mark, I know you were trying to defend Wendell Carter Jr. I agree with you to a certain degree. What do you expect out of him when you just have a basic layup, when you have people consistently getting into the lane without really our pick and roll defense was atrocious. I don't know what say you.
Yeah, it's quite clear to me at this point that Wendell Carter Jr. is shaping up to be the fan base's scapegoat this season, fairly or unfairly. And I saw a lot of it tonight, particularly on the defensive end. A lot of people are sort of raving and ranting about Wendell Carter's lack of defense, so to speak. There's definitely concerns for Carter on offense. Even me, the big Carter defender, I share those concerns on offense. But defensively, I mean, I don't know what people are expecting Carter to do or any center to do in a drop defensive coverage when you're I guess the guys guarding the screen, Kobe White, Zach LaVine, Otto Porter, whoever it is, if those guys just can't stay connected to someone like Trae Young or Kevin Huerter or whoever the ball handler is, though that player is always going to get into the lane. They're either going to pull up from three and sort of step into those jump shots, or they're going to stream into the into the paint rather, and either get a score themselves or create lob opportunities like they did for John Collins all night. So I don't know what we're expecting any defensive center to do in this scheme if the guards can't sort of remain connected at the point of attack. So the point of attack defense from the Bulls was just absolutely pathetic. And if it remains that way, whether it's Carter, whether it's anyone else, the defense will be bad, and there's not much really a scheme can do to sort of solve that problem. So I wanted to defend Carter somewhat because I saw some of the takes not flying around that I thought were wrong, particularly on defense. And I'm just really concerned about this defense, particularly at the point of attack. I mean, I know Fred, you're a big Chris Dunn fan, and you were concerned about the lack of perimeter defense on this team, which is fair to say. And it got really exposed tonight against a team like the Hawks, who just can be just devastatingly good in pick and roll. So it's definitely going to be a concern all season long. And in a couple games' time, we've got Steph Curry coming down to Chicago to play the Bulls. So, if it was really bad against the Hawks, imagine how bad it could be against Curry and the Warriors. So it's definitely going to be problematic going forward.
Well, there's no arguing about it. Like, I know there's a lot of people that want to hate on Chris Dunn and think that he sucks. But there's a reason we dominated the Hawks last year for the most part and beat them consistently. It was because of his defense on Trae Young. He was an absolute I would argue he played Trae Young better than almost anybody in the league. He was a constant harassment for him. You look at Trae Young's numbers, he did have some good games because he's a great player. But for the most part, he did a great job on Trae Young. Trae Young did whatever he wanted tonight. I mean, I love Arch. He's a great try-hard kid and all that, but it was an embarrassment watching him try to guard Trae Young tonight. Give me a break. Like a fifth grader trying to guard him, and he did his best. I know he tries hard. He's just not a good enough athlete. He's just not a good enough defender to stick with Trae Young. And it was disgrace. It was disgraceful. Him and Kobe. Now I'm not going to get too upset about Kobe because I do believe he's a good player and he had a terrible night. There's no arguing that. But he's got a bright future ahead of him. But my God, he was awful tonight. Let's start out with his passing. One of the keys to being a good passer or point guard is when you throw your passes, you need to hit the guy in the chest. How many times a night did we see him miss guys by 3-4 feet, hitting guys at the knees, at the ankles? That's horrific. It just can't happen. And I don't want to get too upset about one game. Everybody has a bad game, but it was very disappointing to see the way he came out tonight as a guy who we're going to depend on. He's one of our best two players. I don't know. Are both of you guys worried that he can't be a point guard going forward? Are we ever going to make that assessment after one game?
I don't think that it's, we're ready to make that assessment quite yet, but he certainly didn't look like he was made for the job tonight. And I think, he has to choose too when to pick his spots. And I think that a lot of times he was getting caught up on whether he was going to make a pass or whether he was going to take a shot. Then he would end up just making some like herky-jerky, terrible pass to, God knows where and turning it over. So, you hope that he's a point guard because the problem is you're going to have to start having problems if he's not, because then it's like, who does this team really have? What sort of building blocks do you really have to build around? But let's hope that as the season goes on here, he's trying to pick up a position that he's never played before. And I don't think that he has those natural point guard instincts. He's going to have to try to learn on the job. Have we ever seen that really happen before? I don't know.
That's a great question. Yeah, but you know what? There's other guys. I keep on pointing to the Trailblazers. Neither of those guys are natural point guards. You think Dame Millard's a natural point guard? CJ McCollum? They're not. They're combo guards. That's what we have here. And it can work if you can give some semblance of defense. The defense we saw tonight from those two, Zach, played great offensively, except for his 1 for 8 from 3. He was horrific defensively again. This is a constant refrain.
He was in foul trouble the whole game. It was really hard for him. He He had 3 fouls in the first quarter.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly, because he's out of position. He wasn't. I didn't think he played great defense tonight. I'm sorry. I know I love Zach. I think he's a great kid, but this is a constant refrain. He didn't play well defensively. And it's not just him. It's also White. Mark, Kay, what say you about Zach's effort today?
Well, look, Zach was bad on D, and he got the first stint on Trae Young initially, and he just wasn't picking him up in transition. I mean, that first quarter, the Bulls gave up 42 points, and a lot of that was just giving up transition baskets to the Hawks. And I know Stacey King on the broadcast, again, he's me coming to defend Wendell Carter, but I know he was pointing out Wendell Carter's lack of help defense. But if the ball handler, or if our Bulls guards are not sort of picking up someone like Trae Young in transition, then we can't really expect the rest of the team to come over and help and for the rotations to be crisp. So Zach was really bad in transition defense. Their defense in half court against Trae Young was really bad. So I guess for someone like, or not someone, but the backcourt of Trae Young, Zach LaVine and Kobe White, if that's to coexist and to be actually good and functional, then they need to bring it on offense, because we know their defense just isn't there. But they weren't there on offense tonight, and obviously they got exposed on defense. So it was just a big calamity on both sides of the ball.
I got to say something, too, about it. We can't go from Boylen and his nothing but threes or layups offense to another offense that we saw tonight where I saw so many mid-range jumpers, I couldn't freaking believe it. I love Williams. He made them. How many mid-range jumpers did he step into? That's the worst shot in basketball. Why are we taking 17, 18-footers time after freaking time? It's not just him, Zach. And we took far too many 17 or 18-footers. I thought I was watching Luol Deng in 2008 again. It's just insane to me. That's the worst shot in basketball. You're to take it to that should be your third option as a shot. It's a layup, three-pointer, then you settle for that if the shot clock's running down. But we stepped into way too many 17, 18-footers with time on the shot clock. The offense was horrific tonight too. I'm not gonna. I shouldn't get this upset over one game, but my God, we had high expectations for this team. We let our two best defensive perimeter defenders leave the team for nothing, and we're all like smiling. It's all good. We got a rookie. Yeah, he's a nice player. This was a freaking disaster. And if we have to see defense like this for the rest of the year, I mean, look at the schedule coming up. We're in freaking big trouble here. My God, I just saw a point come up here. Zach LaVine will be traded by the deadline, the trade deadline. Do you guys agree with that? You think that's going to happen?
I think a lot just depends on how things kind of shake up here. Because if it looks like we have a core, then maybe. But if it's just like a bunch of kind of random pieces at the moment, nobody's really there to step up, then one, you're going to need to get a little bit worse so that you can continue to get those draft picks, hoping that you get that guy. And then two, Zach LaVine's what, 27? Isn't he 27 years old?
25.
25 years old. But either way, I mean, if you sign him to a big time deal in what, 2 years? I mean, he's going to be he's going to be in his prime, solidly in his prime. And is this team going to be there yet? Is it, that's the question. Because it's like, you're not going to build the whole team around Zach LaVine. So you have to hope that there's a little bit here. But if that's not there, then I think you're going to need to get pieces from him. He's the best asset you have. Two
more points I want to make. Chandler Hutchinson, I love the kid. He's a great defender. I think he's very underrated as a rebounder and defender. But my God, if he misses another layup from 3 feet again, I was going to throw my TV through the window. I couldn't believe how many freaking layups Chandler Hutchinson missed tonight, right at the rim. One. Second, Daniel Gafford. If Daniel Gafford can't shoot free throws, get him off the freaking court. His free throw shooting was atrocious tonight. Absolutely atrocious. I know that's probably number 15 on a list of what went wrong tonight, but he can't play if he's going to shoot free throws like that, because that's his only game, is attacking the rim. You're going to get fouled, and you can't shoot free throws like he did tonight. 25% is a disgrace. Adam Makoka, nice kid. I like him. He tries hard. He's 2 of 6 tonight, 0 for 3 from three-point range. Get him off the court. He shouldn't be playing basketball. Mark K. From Australia, your comments?
On Adam Makoka or Chandler? Actually, what do you want me to comment?
all the three. All three.
On that insane rant. No, look, I keep coming back to this, but it all comes back to the defense. So obviously there was problems on offense. A lot of the mid-range issues that you were sort of talking about before was just guys sort of stepping into mid-range shots because the offense wasn't just producing. Kobe, Zach weren't sort of running an offense. So guys like Otto, Patrick Williams, even Zach was sort of just resorting into a mid-range shot because that was all that was really consistently being able to be generated. But it comes back to the defensive end, because if you're giving up 40 points in each of the first 2 quarters of your first game of the season, then it doesn't really matter what you do on offense. It's just going to be bad. So I think it really needs to start on the defensive end. They need to clean that up quickly. I don't know if they can clean that up quickly, given that they've had virtually no training camp. And I mean, running a drop coverage should be something that these NBA players should be accustomed to pretty quickly. It's probably one of the more conservative, one of the more easier defensive coverages to run. It's most certainly compared to what they were running last year, which requires a ton of rotation, a ton of communication. This drop coverage still requires that, but not to the same extent. So if they can't get this right on defense, then it's just problematic. So we can talk about the offense all we want, but if you can't get the defense sorted, then it's going to be a long, tough season.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be long and tough. Let's name our MVP for the game. I'd like to see the people in the comments section who you thought the MVP was. I guess the nominees are Patrick Williams. Patrick Williams. Let's just give it to him. It's not even having nominees.
Lauri Markkanen. He had a heck of a game.
Lauri was okay.
Yeah, Lauri was 6 of 9 from the field. He was 4 of 6 from 3. That's actually pretty good. 5 of 5 from the free throw line. He had 4 assists, 7 rebounds. That's not bad, but he was a minus 34 when he was on the court. So
yeah, because he was in the starting lineup, and that's when they got waxed. Everyone in the starting lineup has minus figures that are in that ballpark.
Yeah, Mark, he played 30 minutes and he was a minus 34. There's nobody who deserves the pat on the back in the starting lineup. In fact, I'm not going to give a player of the game to any of the starters, including Williams. How do you like that? I'm going to give it to a guy in the bench. It's going to be Otto Porter Jr., who I thought had a good game tonight. Played 23 minutes, 5 of 10 from the field. He was 4 of 4 from the free throw line. He was a minus 9 out there. I'll give it to Ryan A., who hustled his rear end off, even though I thought he sucked overall. Daniel Gafford doesn't get any my love. I thought he was terrible tonight. I tweeted out a box out attempt that he had that he should be embarrassed about. I would have cut a guy after that attempt. Chandler Hutchinson, terrible. You know what? Nobody gets a player of the game in it. What do you say about that? What do you think about that today? We're just going to forego it for the first time. Nobody gets player of the game. How about we get?
I think the first half was the worst amount of points that they've given up in the history of the franchise, or something like that.
Is that what it was?
I think in the first half they said it was the most amount of points ever given up. Franchise history. History was made. Dan Foy, I love you, but listen, the reason I'm so angry is this was a team that we're allegedly fighting for that final playoff spot with. This is our marker, right? I know they got a little bit better, but we should have had a commensurate rise with our young guys getting better and our new head coach. Did we see that tonight? No. It was a disgrace. Mark K., what do you say?
Well, 2 things. I do recall listening to, I think it was the Big Red Bus episode maybe a few weeks ago, where you and Doug Tonus were sort of talking about potentially the Bulls being up and winning this game by 20 points. So if anyone's to blame, I'm going to blame you, Frederick, because you were predicting a 20-point win here. So
did I really say that?
Yeah, I'm going to find that bit of the audio later on, and I'm going to put it on Twitter, and I'm going to blame you for it, because I think you are, you're the main culprit here. So that is one thing I want to say. And shout out to J Money High Tech. I'm assuming that's DJ High Tech from Real GM, if I'm right in saying that. So if so, shout out, my friend.
Yeah, I felt like, this season I predicted we'd win 34 games. That's low for me. And it's not just because I'm tired of losing these ridiculous bets to you. It's because there was something inside which was really bothering me about our perimeter defense and our defense overall. And when you throw away your 2 best players and assume that you're going to get better defensively, it doesn't follow logic. So, oh man, I mean, you're right.
Can we talk about that? Our season-long bet. The fact that
let's talk about our bet right now. So 34 or more. We're going to show a video that I recorded of since I lost our bet last year. Steven Johnson, our fearless producer. Should we do that right now? Should we watch the video now that I lost? Do you want to do that right now? Anyhow, I recorded this video that I had to lose because Mark wrote out a whole manifesto I had to read. It was about 4 pages long, takes 2.5 minutes. Actually, we're going to close the show, and then we'll add that to the end of this, so we'll finish it up. But that'll be the bet, okay, Mark? 34 or more. I would like to revise that number, but I already said 34, so it's
well, that's my question. How are you feeling about it after one game?
I feel terrible about
the Bulls can win 34 games in a 72 game regular season?
Right now, I don't. I'd be shocked if they win 24 after watching that. I'd be shocked if they win 18 after watching that. That was a disgrace. And for whatever reason, I'm seriously concerned about Wendell Carter Jr. I know we're both fans of his.
Yeah, I've always been. I never got the hype to begin with.
What was your issue?
He hasn't shown anything. I mean, he hasn't shown. He's not a good defender. He's not good at really doing anything. But everybody he's one of those players. He's like Kirk Heinrich, man, whereas he was like anointed from day one. Everyone loves him. He's always okay. He does no wrong. We're always so excited about him and the potential that he has. And it's like, I haven't seen this before. Typically, it takes a little bit more I think, for most guys to show something, for people to be like, oh, yeah, he's somebody you could build around, or, this is the future. I don't see it with Wendell Carter Jr.
This is good. The two Marks are fighting. Let's go. Did you hear that horrible attacks on two of your favorites? No, Mark, first of all, Lewinthal, he's one of the best defenders on the team.
What's that saying?
All right. Do you want to counter, Mark K?
Yeah, I mean, so.
Well, look, I'm one of Wendell's biggest supporters, defenders, whatever you want to call me, and I will remain that way. And to me, even if that's the case, I never thought he was going to be a star. I always thought he was going to be a high-end role player whose value was going to be on the defensive end more so, and then hopefully that offense would come along and he would just be that starting center who probably doesn't get the fanfare, probably never gets an all-star nod, but does the little things that make you win basketball games. That's what I ultimately hope for him. I definitely have my concerns on offense. I'm worried if he's being too boiling at this point, and if he can ever really restore that confidence or can ever be that player on offense that I thought he could be. But in the first 2 seasons that we saw from Wendell Carter, he floated and flashed just some elite defensive skills for a 19, 20-year-old coming into the league as a center. Whether that was at the rim or that was guarding out high, in that aggressive pick and roll scheme that Boylan was running. So to me, Wendell Carter can be a very damn good defensive player. I don't understand any critiques from that point of view. If people want to bring critiques from an offensive standpoint, I get that. And even I'm having my concerns about that now. But defensively, I've got zero concerns about Wendell Carter. But I've got massive concerns about this defensive scheme, and it's something that I'm not even sure, a guy like Rudy Gobert could fix, to be honest with you, given how bad this perimeter defense looks like it's going to be.
I thought his best moment tonight, Wendell Carter, was in the low post, which shocked me. He had a nice left-hand hook shot in the low post, but outside of that, his 3-point attempt went in and out. He's still got to keep on shooting those threes. There's far too many times where I feel like he's not even facing the basket or even becoming a threat as an offensive player. And I don't want to see that this year. I want to see him go for it. So, guys, let's wrap this up. This was an unmitigated disaster. There's nothing to say. There's no way around it. It was an embarrassment. I appreciate you guys jumping on to talk about it for 25 minutes. But I have a Monopoly game waiting for me with my children and a warm cup of cocoa. And I'm going to forget about what happened tonight. I just hope it's all gone.
Dallas Suns on ESPN. You should turn that on.
Yeah, turn that on.
Yeah, that's why I was watching Bucks. I watched Bucks Boston before this. Went down to the final seconds, and I was able to kind of wash my mouth out of this game.
I actually started openly weeping today when my 12-year-old son told me his favorite player was Luka Doncic, and I almost started crying. It wasn't
out of happiness or because you were sad. What did you want him to say?
I was sad. I was hoping he'd pick a bull. I was hoping to say Zach LaVine, Denzel Valentine, somebody like that. Somebody cool. And he said Luka Doncic. But I mean, I knew he was going to be a good NBA player, so it was. It's good. It's good that you chose a good player.
Maybe we can get your son on here next time. He sounds like he's got better takes than what you do.
How dare you, Mark? Well, yeah, I want to wish both you guys Merry Christmas. Thank you for jumping on, and Happy Hanukkah to you, Mark Lewinthal. And
Shalom.
All the best to everybody who jumped on. Daniel, Jim, Samuel, everybody. Thank you, guys. It was really great for all you guys to jump on and join us. We're going to do this as much as possible. Actually, if we have more nights like this, we're not going to do it as much as possible. In fact, I might just abort the whole thing going forward. But hopefully they'll start winning some games and we'll have a lot better stuff to talk about. Brian Popper, 71-1. I like that. I like it. That's the way we should be. That's the way I should be more positive. That's my brand, right? So anyhow, what you What you're going to see, Dog Bull Fred. What you're going to see now is the bet I lost to Mark. It was a recording I made, and so I satisfied the terms. I actually wore a Santa Claus suit and a mask when I recited the manifesto. And I got to admit, it was pretty hot in that Santa suit, and the manifesto went on for about 2.5 minutes. So I hope you enjoy it. It's about my love for Kirk Heinrich, which I had to read due to the fact I lost the bet. What's our bet, Mark K? Same thing.
Well, yeah. Look, I'm happy to make him more. The terms of the bet a little bit more. Yeah, I think we could jazz it up a bit. Maybe add some things to it. But I'm feeling confident again about getting another win. I definitely conned you into it. But we can come back to the drawing table about the terms and make it a little bit more spicier. Seeing that I'm feeling quite comfortable now, so and just think of other stupid things I can make you do. But just for this particular bet that you lost here, I was just technically you adhere to all the rules, but I just didn't feel it in your voice, and the viewers will see that in watching this video. I would have hoped you came to it with more veracity in your voice and a little bit more pride in reading the manifesto that I wrote for you. But you didn't seem to be enjoying it.
Could you tell the elf on the shelf symbolized Kirk Heinrich? That's the part. That's the part that really bothered me was the end. You guys are going to see this. The video unfortunately cut off because it was so long due to the length of the manifesto. And I finished with a. I had the cameraman do a close in on the elf on the shelf, and then it panned to a picture of Kirk. So if you see the elf on the shelf, that's who is symbolized by Kirk.
Can I also say it was terribly acted because you clearly weren't reading that live. So the acting job that you were doing was absolutely terrible. But as people will see very shortly.
All right, enjoy it. Good night. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy holidays, everybody who jumped on. And we will see you again soon. When's the next game? How do I not even know this?
Saturday.
Blacked out. When's the next game, Mark? Do you know?
Saturday, I think.
Saturday. And who are they playing?
Pacers.
Well, we look forward to having you guys on all year and enjoy your expertise. And listen, for next one, we'll have a Kirk debate between you two guys. I think that'll be fun. Maybe we'll go in that a little bit deeper.
That's exactly what we need. It's just the season's not depressing enough.
All right. Great. All right. Steven Johnson, our producer, our fearless producer. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for watching the See Red Fred Roundball Table post-game show. Have a good one, everybody.
Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
For those who may not be aware, my name is Frederick Pfeiffer.
All right, so Steven,
you're more likely to know of me by my moniker, See Red Fred. Aside from being a D-grade radio celebrity in Chicago, one of the few remaining people on this planet who actually respects John Paxson, I also happen to be the least successful self-ascribed prophet known to man. Because of my terrible ability to see into the future, I bring you this communication today. You see, each season I run a season-long bet with my great friend whose last name I can't pronounce, so I just call him Mark K from Australia. For the rare few who may not know who Mark is, he's my really handsome and talented friend. One who really brings out the best in me each time we talk, and is someone who's been instrumental in my personal development over the last few years. I thank him profusely for all he's done in making me a better father, husband, and citizen. Anyway, the bet I had last season with the great and wise Mark K was, should the Bulls lose 42 or more games, I would have to wear a Kirk Heinrich jersey for 1 week, but also record this enthralling video, to which I profess my undying love and gratitude to Captain Kirk. Given the Bulls were so terrible last season, not even a global pandemic that would suspend the NBA season could stop me from losing the bet and making a false prediction. So here I am, with you now to tell you how much I love Kirk Heinrich and how much he truly means to me. In the past, I've been overly harsh on Heinrich, only looking at field goal percentages without context, caring little for defense, and not valuing the intangibles he brings to a team, grit, art, hustle, and a blue-collar spirit the city of Chicago thrives on. But in recent days, reflecting on my time on this planet, looking back on all the mistakes I've made, and pondering over all my regrets, the most glaring of them all has been how often I've overlooked and diminished the impact Kirk Heinrich had on our beloved Bull. Before him, there was nothing but the wasteland that Krause had built after the dynasty era fell. 5 long years of terrible basketball, but that would all change in 2003. I used to think that it was because of John Paxson becoming GM, but I was wrong. It had nothing to do with Paxson. No, it was all about a player who was built in his likeness, a beautiful, scruffy-haired combo guard, one who would be the catalyst in the Bulls discovering an identity we could all be proud of. What Paxson saw in Heinrich, I now see. I am no longer blind. I see the same in Ryan A, too. That archetype of a player, one who will dive on the floor and make the hustle plays that others won't, I've come to love that player, and so now I love Kirk Heinrich, an infallible figure among Bulls lore.